Vanessa showed up before sunrise, with a moving truck behind her. She stood on my porch waving legal papers, saying my cottage was hers now, and when the officer asked where the owner was, she pointed straight at my front door. Before I go any further, let me pause for just a moment. If you're listening from somewhere quiet or somewhere lonely, I'd love to know where you are. And if stories like this speak to you, please subscribe. Every story I share carries a piece of my life, and your presence here truly matters. Before any of this happened, my life was small in the best way. Quiet, predictable, mine. I'm 70 years old now. I wake up early, not because I need to, but because my body has learnt the rhythm. The kettle goes on before the sun clears the hills. 2 mugs come out of the cupboard, even though I only use one. Old habits don't ask permission to stay. My cottage sits just outside a mountain town. Most people miss if they blink. Pine trees stand close enough that I can hear them shift when the wind moves through. The porch wraps around the house like a steady arm, boards I built myself one summer at a time. I still remember the ache in my shoulders after hauling those planks. I remember feeling proud anyway. I taught science for 32 years, public school, long days, little applause, but I loved it. I loved watching confusion soften into understanding, that moment when a student's eyes change, when something finally clicks. I raised my son Lucas, mostly on my own. His father left when Lucas was 6. No shouting, no slammed doors, just a quiet goodbye and a small boy asking questions I didn't yet know how to answer. So I became everything: mother, father, homework checker, late-night listener. I packed lunches. I worked extra tutoring shifts. I skipped vacations so he could go to summer camp. There were years I slept 4 hours a night, years my hands smelled like chalk dust and cheap coffee, years I told myself, just get him there, just get him safe. And I did. Lucas grew into a gentle man, soft-spoken, thoughtful, the kind who holds doors open without thinking, the kind who believes people mean well. That always worried me, just a little. When I retired, I bought the cottage with money I'd saved slowly, not inherited, not gifted, earned. It wasn't fancy. 2 bedrooms, a stone fireplace, a kitchen window that caught the morning light just right, but it was peaceful. After decades of noise, peace felt like wealth. Lucas visited often in the beginning, Sunday dinners, fixing loose steps, laughing at stories we'd both heard too many times. Then he met Vanessa. He called one evening, his voice brighter than usual. "Mum, I met someone." Her name was Vanessa. She worked in finance. Smart, driven, confident. "She's amazing," he said. "She really has her life together." I remember standing in my kitchen, staring at the counter while he talked, not afraid, just alert. When they came to visit for the first time, I cooked too much: roast chicken, fresh bread, a pie I didn't need to make. Vanessa arrived, smiling. Perfect posture, perfect hair. She complimented the house, but not the way people usually do. She didn't say, "This feels warm." She said, "This must be worth a lot now." I let it pass. At dinner, she asked questions that sounded polite but felt measured. "How old is the property? Do you manage the upkeep alone? Have you thought about simplifying things as you get older?" Lucas squeezed my hand once under the table. He thought she was being helpful. After they left, I washed dishes slowly, one plate at a time. I stood at the sink longer than I needed to. Something had shifted, just slightly. They married fast, too fast for my taste, but I smiled in the photos. I toasted their future. Then the calls changed. Lucas called less. When he did, his words felt filtered. "Vanessa thinks you should update your paperwork. She's just worried about you, Mum. She knows this stuff." I listened. I nodded, even though he couldn't see me. I said, "I'll think about it." Then Vanessa started coming by alone, always with something in her hands: pastries, forms, folders. She walked through my home like she was memorizing it. Cabinets, corners, closets. One afternoon, she sat at my kitchen table and slid papers toward me. "Just something to make life easier," she said. I didn't sign. Her smile tightened. Later, neighbors stopped waving. Cashiers grew distant. People looked at me like I might forget my own name. I heard it at the post office one morning. "She's not all there anymore." Her daughter-in-law mentioned it. I stood very still, the package shaking in my hands. That night, I sat alone at my table, the house quiet in a way that felt wrong. I thought about every sacrifice, every late night, every choice I made so my son could stand strong. And I realized something painful. I wasn't losing my home because I was weak. I was being targeted because I looked easy. I rinsed my mug, set it upside down, turned off the light. I didn't know how yet, but I knew that peace was about to end. I didn't know it then, but that silence was the last real peace I'd feel for a long time. The first real crack came quietly. No raised voices, no slammed doors, just one sentence, said too casually. Lucas called on a Tuesday evening. I was folding laundry, slow and careful, lining up the edges the way I always had. "Mum," he said, "Vanessa thinks it might be time you stopped handling things alone." I didn't answer right away. I smoothed a towel, folded it once more than necessary. "Handling what, exactly?" I asked. "Well, finances, the house, just in case." He hesitated. "She's seen situations like this go bad." I sat down. "Go bad how?" Another pause, longer this time. "She says you seemed a little confused last time she visited." That word landed hard. Confused. I looked at my hands. They were steady, still smelled faintly of soap and linen. "I wasn't confused," I said. I told her no. The silence that followed wasn't empty. It was weighted. The sound of someone choosing words and sides. "She didn't explain it that way," Lucas said carefully. That night sleep wouldn't come. I replayed conversations, counted facts, measured memory against fear. I knew what I remembered, and I knew what I hadn't forgotten. The visits increased after that. Vanessa arrived with thicker folders, tabs, highlights, small flags marking where signatures were expected. She spoke slower now, like I might miss something. "This just protects you," she said one afternoon, tapping a page. "In case you forget bills, or dates, or appointments." I read every line, quietly, carefully. "This gives you control," I said. She smiled, not warmly, patiently. "No, Helen," she replied. "It gives us help." That night, I checked my door twice, then a third time. The rumors reached me the following week. At the grocery store, at the bank. "She's struggling, poor thing. She shouldn't be alone." I stood in the cereal aisle, pretending to read labels. My chest felt hollow, like something inside me had been quietly rearranged. Then the letter came. Plain envelope, typed address. My home listed as headquarters for a company I'd never created. I sat at my kitchen table and opened it slowly. Family Holdings LLC. My name, my address, not my signature. I didn't cry. I didn't panic. I made tea, let it steep too long. This wasn't concern anymore. This was construction. Foundation first, then walls. I called my lawyer the next morning. She listened without interrupting. Then she said one sentence that settled everything. "This is elder exploitation." The words felt heavy, but clean, like truth spoken out loud. Still, the deepest cut came from Lucas. He called after Vanessa shared her side. His voice sounded tired. "Careful. She's just trying to help you," he said. "She's worried." "I am not broken," I said softly. "I know," he replied, but his tone didn't match the words. That night I sat in the dark living room. No lamp, just moonlight stretching across the floorboards. I remembered Lucas at 7, curled beside me during a thunderstorm, trusting me completely. Now he trusted someone else. But that wasn't the worst part. The worst part came when Vanessa stopped asking. She started telling. "You'll need to be flexible," she said one morning. "Things are already in motion." "In motion, how?" I asked. She smiled, the tight one. "You'll see." That's when I understood. She didn't think she was stealing. She thought she was taking over. I folded her paperwork neatly, handed it back. "I need time," I said. She stood, adjusted her coat. Her voice cooled. "Time isn't something everyone gets." After she left, I locked the door and leaned against it. My knees felt weak, but my mind didn't. I wasn't confused. I wasn't fragile. I was being pushed. And as I stood there in the quiet, one thought settled deep and steady. I didn't raise my voice, but something inside me went very, very quiet. After that conversation, the house felt different. Not empty, watched. I started noticing silence in sharper ways. The refrigerator's hum sounded louder at night. Floorboards creaked where they never had before. I double-checked things I'd never questioned. The stove, the doors, the calendar on the fridge. Not because I was forgetting, because someone wanted me to believe I was. I began writing things down. Every visit, every call, every sentence that didn't sound like my son. Ink on paper, proof for myself. Some afternoons I'd open a drawer, then close it again, just to be sure I remembered what was inside. I did, every time. But doubt is sneaky. It doesn't shout, it whispers. At night, I lay awake, listening to the wind move through the trees. I pictured Lucas as a boy, shoes kicked off by the door, Backpack dropped wherever gravity decided. I remembered his trust, how easily he gave it, and I wondered when he'd stopped giving it to me. Vanessa stopped pretending after that. Her voice sharpened, her patience thinned. "You left the gate unlocked last week," she said once. "I hadn't. You already signed something like this," she said another time. I never had. When I corrected her, she tilted her head, sympathetic, almost kind. "That's not what I remember," she said. That was the cruelty of it. Not accusing me outright, just nudging reality sideways. One afternoon, I checked my lock logs. Every entry, every timestamp, perfect. Still, neighbors avoided my eyes. Friends lingered less. Isolation does the work of lies, faster than truth ever could. I stopped hosting dinners, stopped lingering in town, came straight home after errands. The walls felt closer, the quiet heavier. Then came the second letter. This one welcomed me as a client. Confirmed paperwork had been received. Ownership in progress. My hands shook for the first time in months. I sat down hard in the kitchen chair, pressed my palms flat against the table. I knew then, without doubt, this wasn't confusion, this was theft in slow motion. That night, I didn't sleep. I watched the moon slide across the window, thought about every woman like me, independent, alone, assumed fragile. I thought about how many never see it coming. In the morning, I skipped tea, didn't open the curtains. I picked up the phone. My lawyer listened carefully. Then she said something I didn't expect. "We don't stop her yet." I blinked. "We let her believe she's winning." That sentence lit something steady inside me. Not anger, clarity. We made a plan. Quiet, legal, exact. My home went into a trust, sealed, protected. On paper, it would look uncertain, unsettled. To Vanessa, it would look like opportunity. Next came the cameras, small ones, unobtrusive. The clerk asked if I needed help installing them. I smiled. "I managed 30 teenagers at once." I said, "I'll manage this." I placed them carefully. Living room, kitchen, porch, every place she liked to stand. I kept notes, dates, times, exact words. When Vanessa called, I sounded tired, unsure. When she visited, I listened more than I spoke. She mistook silence for weakness. That was her mistake. One evening after she left, I sat alone at the table, notebook open, pen resting between my fingers. I realized something that made my chest ache. I wasn't grieving my home. I was grieving my son's trust. But grief sharpens you. I closed the notebook, turned off the light. I began to think very carefully. Some nights I caught myself whispering their names, not in anger, but in disbelief. Planning didn't feel dramatic. No swelling music, no speeches practiced in mirrors. It felt practical, almost ordinary. One morning, I cleared my desk, not in a rush, just the notebook, my phone, and a cup of tea gone cold beside me. I started with dates, then names, then patterns. Vanessa moved in stages. Soft concern first, gentle pressure next, urgency last. Once I saw that, everything slowed down. My lawyer checked in every few days, never rushed me, never raised her voice. "She'll escalate," she said once. "They always do." So I made room for escalation. When Vanessa visited, I left the curtains open, let the cameras do their quiet work. I nodded more, questioned less. "I'll think about it," became my shield. She mistook hesitation for surrender. That helped. I told Lucas I might visit an old friend, out of town, just for a few days. He sounded relieved. That hurt more than I expected. I didn't actually leave. I parked my car where it could be seen from the road. Then I walked home through the trees, slow and careful. Inside, I turned off the lights, closed the curtains. From the outside, the house looked empty. Then I waited. Waiting is something you learn with age. You learn that rushing breaks things, silence builds them. On the third day, the camera indicator blinked. Vanessa's car. She didn't park right away. She circled the house first, looked through windows, checked the doors, then she reached into her bag and pulled out a key. My spare. She'd taken it weeks earlier. I remembered the moment now, her lingering in the garden, pretending to admire the flowers. She stepped inside like she belonged there. I watched on the tablet, every step, every pause. "This is mine now," she said softly, almost like a prayer. She took photos, measured rooms with her eyes. I didn't move, barely breathed. When she left, I sent the footage to my lawyer. Her reply came quickly. "Good. Don't confront her." That night, I slept, really slept, because the trap was set. 2 days later she called, her voice confident, almost cheerful. "I'll be coming by early," she said, "with movers." I thanked her, let my voice tremble just enough. Before dawn, the security alert sounded once, then went quiet. Her name came up on the screen. "She says she owns the property now," the guard said. I told them to let her in. That's the part people don't understand. Control doesn't come from locking the door, it comes from knowing when to open it. From my bed, I watched the feed, the tablet glowing in the dark. The moving truck rolled into the driveway, men with clipboards, Vanessa's heels clicking sharply on my porch. She directed them without hesitation. Bedroom first, living room next. She held up papers, my forged name bold at the bottom. I waited. Then the patrol car arrived, right on time. Red and blue lights moved slowly across the pine trees. The officer asked questions. Vanessa answered smoothly, too smoothly, until the word trust came up, until sealed records were mentioned, until the officer looked at her, and then at the house. That's when I stood. I tied my robe slowly, smoothed my hair. I stepped onto the porch, holding my tea. Vanessa turned, her face drained of color. "You were supposed to be gone," she whispered. I smiled, not sharply, just calmly. "This is my home." The officer asked me one question. "Did you authorize any of this?" No, that was enough. The cameras, the documents, the footage, everything unfolded without shouting. Vanessa accused me once, said I had set her up. I didn't argue. I didn't need to. She had built this herself. As they led her away, she looked back at me, not angry, afraid, and something inside me loosened. Not joy, not triumph, relief. I went back inside, locked the door, sat at my table. The title of this story came back to me then. She thought I was too old to notice. That belief cost her everything. The stage was set. The truth had spoken. All I had to do was wait. The loudest sound that morning wasn't the siren, it was the pause. The kind of pause where everyone stops moving at once. Movers frozen mid-step, clipboards lowered, breaths held. The officer looked at me again, not with suspicion, with respect. "Ma'am," she said gently, "can you confirm your name for the record?" I did, slowly, clearly. Vanessa shook her head. "No, no, that's not right," she said. "She agreed to this. She just doesn't remember." I didn't answer her. Instead, I walked past her, picked up the folder she dropped on the porch, held it the way you hold something fragile. "This signature," I said, tapping the page, "isn't mine." The officer leaned closer, studied the paper, then looked back at Vanessa. Vanessa's voice cracked. "She's confused. Everyone knows that. That word again. Confused." I set the folder down on the porch rail, folded my hands together. "I remember the day my son learned to ride a bike," I said quietly. "He fell 3 times before he stayed up." I looked at her. "I remember every lie you told me, too." No one spoke. One of the movers cleared his throat. "We didn't know," he said. "We thought everything was legal." The officer nodded. "You can step back. We'll handle this." Vanessa reached for her phone. "I'm calling my lawyer." "You're welcome to," the officer replied calmly. "But first, I need you to answer a few questions." Vanessa finally looked at me. Really looked. Not calculating now. Searching. "You did this," she said. "You set me up." I took a breath. Slow, steady. "No," I said. "I protected myself." My lawyer arrived soon after. Calm, prepared. She handed over sealed filings, trust records, time-stamped footage. Everything Vanessa claimed began to unravel. I watched it happen from my own porch, hands wrapped around a warm cup, morning light brushing the trees. Vanessa's shoulders sagged. Her voice fell. "I was just trying to help," she said weakly. The officer met her eyes. Helping doesn't involve forgery. When they asked if I wanted to press charges, I didn't rush the answer. "Yes," I said, not from anger, from necessity. Vanessa was escorted to the car. She didn't scream. She didn't fight. She looked smaller than she ever had. The door closed. The truck drove away. The driveway emptied. My lawyer touched my arm. "It's done." I nodded. But it didn't feel like an ending. Not yet. Later that morning, Lucas arrived. He looked exhausted, older somehow. "Where is she?" he asked. I didn't answer with words. I handed him the tablet. He watched, every second. Her voice, her certainty, her claim. His face changed in stages. Confusion, shock, grief. He sat down heavily at the table, covered his mouth with his hand. "I didn't know," he whispered. "I swear, I didn't know." I reached across the table, took his hand. I know, I said. That was the hardest part. Not the betrayal, not the theft, forgiving him without punishing myself. He cried then, quietly, like he used to when he was small. We talked for hours, about trust, about blindness, about how love can make you look away. He left just before sunset, hugged me longer than usual. I should have listened, he said. You're listening now, I replied. That night, I sat alone again. But the quiet felt different, clean. No weight pressing in, no doubt whispering, just space. Sometimes the loudest moment in life is when you say nothing at all, and in that silence, I finally felt free. The house feels lighter now, not because anything changed in the rooms, but because something heavy finally left. Mornings have found their old rhythm again. The kettle goes on. Sunlight stretches across the table. One mug, though I still take out two. Lucas calls every day now. Not out of guilt, not out of obligation, out of choice. Some days we talk about ordinary things, weather moving in, a recipe he tried, a book he's halfway through. Other days we sit quietly on the line, breathing, listening, and that's enough. Trust doesn't rush back. It doesn't arrive with apologies or promises. It walks, slowly, carefully. Vanessa's name doesn't come up much anymore. When it does, it feels distant, unimportant. The court handled what needed handling, orders signed, distance enforced. I didn't attend the hearings. I didn't need to. My victory wasn't watching someone fall. It was staying upright, without hardening. I think differently about age now, about how people hear a number and stop seeing the person. They think slowness means weakness. That quiet means confusion. That patience is surrender. They forget how much watching teaches you, how many storms you survive without announcing them, how often strength learns to speak softly. Vanessa thought I was too old to notice, too tired to question, too alone to defend myself. That belief cost her everything. I didn't win by shouting. I didn't win by humiliating anyone. I didn't even win quickly. I won by waiting, by listening, by letting truth arrive on its own time. There's a difference between revenge and justice. Revenge wants noise. Justice wants peace. I chose peace. Once a week now, I volunteer at the community center. I sit across from women who look just like I did months ago, polite, capable, quietly unsure why something feels wrong. I don't frighten them with stories. I give them permission. I tell them to write things down, to trust discomfort, to understand that silence doesn't mean surrender. And before they leave, I always say the same thing. Respect, once lost, can be reclaimed if you wait for the right moment. Some nod, some cry, some smile like they've just remembered who they are. In the evenings, I sit on my porch again. The hills darken slowly. The trees breathe. Life is quiet, simple, mine. And after everything, that's more than enough. If this were you, would you have waited or spoken sooner? Tell me in the comments, and if this story stayed with you, subscribe for the next one.